We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Pujyatman Shri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is September the 3rd, 2013, Tuesday evening, and tonight Swamiji will lecture on Yoga Vasistha. This is series 2010, class number 294. And now, Pujyatman Shri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasyadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Upashama Prakarana Section 78. Sage Vasistha gives insight into yoga and jnana. Two-aspected movement to self-realization. One aspect of the movement is how to control your pranas. Pranas are the vital forces that keep your mind moving through thoughts, desires. All functions of the mind are caused by prana. The prana that is used here is in a broad sense. It's a cosmic flow of energy, an aspect of cosmic mind. In other words, put it in a very simple way, two goals before you. One is how to calm the mind, silence the mind, bring stillness. And having brought stillness, how to discover who am I. Two-aspected. Stilling the mind paves the way, it allows you. But the goal is to be fully realized that I am not this limited self. I am the Atman, the absolute self. That revelation is not based upon vrittis, thought waves. That revelation is stripped of the mind completely. So as the mind goes on dissolving, the vision of yourself becomes deeply rooted in I am that. So even while the mind continues, thought waves continue, vrittis exist. You are not rooted in the vrittis, you are rooted in the self. Subtle points, and I will try to explain that. To give you in a very simple way. If I can bring it very simple. If you are a student of a medical science, each time you think of a disease, you look into a volume of book, where it is. You go on preparing yourself. If you have become skilled as a doctor, you don't do that. You can be awakened from deep sleep and still you are a doctor. So, your attainment is your establishment, your sthiti. It doesn't depend upon, you don't say to them, give me time, let me clear my mind. Though, as a doctor, will continue to work with your mind, but your deeper skill is not dependent upon the mind anymore. You've already gained. This is just an illustration I'm trying to give. Much in the same manner, you are working on the scriptural statement, I am that, aham brahmasmi. First you start working with your thought waves. The idea comes, the idea is in the form of thought waves. So many thoughts enter your mind. You go through sanshaya bhavana, the mind that has lots of doubts, how to remove them. By listening, you remove the doubts. Listening means satsanga, lots of satsanga, lot of listening, lot of digging into the ears, taking out all the muck. Listening, until your ear is connected with your heart. But you are working with thought waves. Thought waves undergo a change as you listen. As you reflect, it's called manana. Now your vasanas begin to change, subtle impressions of your mind. But they are also still in the realm of thought waves. If you go into deep reflection, still you are working with your mind. Generating in your mind brahmakara vritti, a thought wave that's of intuitional nature. But the realization, the being fully rooted in the self, again the expression fully rooted, the fact is that it's allegorical. You are always the self. You are not creating any movement towards the root. When the reflected sun tries to find itself, its reality, two things are involved. It must look at the water and it's how it can be purified. Look at the bucket, how it can be expanded. That's yoga, that's vritti. But its goal is not to be dependent upon that water. Its goal is to discover I am the sun. That discovery is not something new you are making. It's just a revelation. The sun has been always there. The awareness of I am in you is linked to absolute consciousness all the time. No matter how limited your awareness may be. No matter how limited a reflected sun may be in a jar, it is always connected with the sun. It is a conditioned expression of the sun, no matter how limited. So that revelation, that just like the cloud is moving and the sun shines forth. The sun shining forth is called jnana, knowledge, which is always, they were not making anything new. Yoga is concerned with how to make that cloud so thin that even when it is there, sun begins to shine forth. But being a cloud, it's always shaky. Sometimes, suddenly, it's not as silvery or as thin as it is. Even though it is shaky, a confidence and an unshakable understanding has entered that cloud. That as cloud, I'm nothing. The sun alone is the real. So that type of experience through the shaking cloud is the trying to experience Brahman by the practice of Samadhi, implying day by day you adopt disciplinary type of meditation, which requires that you sit down in a steady pose, allow your mind to be internalized, let your mind follow a certain technique of meditation, lead the mind to Samadhi. And during that Samadhi, what has happened? The cloud has become rarefied. Therefore, you have a revelation of the sun. But are you enlightened? No, because you have to always wait to bring your mind to that state. It's a great attainment, but it is not realization. Realization is there, you have come to the next level of absolute revelation. The cloud has completely moved away, as it were, and the sun shines forth. This sun-related experience is no longer dependent upon your mind. Figure that out. Nothing confusing. Two things to remember. Cloud must move away and the sun asserts itself. The moving away of the cloud is yoga. Sun's asserting itself, jnana. Both go together. Only there is a difference. But if your enlightenment depends only on the mind, when the mind is calm and relaxed, you say, I'm very close to God. But that closeness to God is not established, is not fixed, because you are depending upon the mind. The mind will become crowded and the God is gone. So come to that level of experience where even if the mind is crowded, that the divine realization, I am Brahman, never goes. That's called Sahaja Samadhi. So Samadhi becomes two types. Samadhi, as Raja Yoga has planned out, disciplinary type. You have to choose a time, you have to practice it, you have to allow your body to stay for an hour or so in deep meditation. But there is always, you are going in and out of Samadhi. The revelation, which is in the form of your very intellect, have become intuitional. Just like you do not think of your identity by exercising your mind. Normal identity, whoever you are, X, Y, Z. Of course, you are not X, but anyway. You are Nilkantha, you are Archana, you are Arati, you are Rajneesh, whoever you are. For that you don't have to work hard. It is spontaneous. That's called Sahaj. Similarly, I am Brahman is as spontaneous as that. For a wave to say I am a wave, that's a spontaneous at a very low level. But to say I am the ocean should be as spontaneous as to say I am the wave. Because that's the reality. A wave is the ocean. So your Whole sadhana lies between wave identity and the ultimate revelation, ocean identity. And Yoga Vasistha draws attention to the Patanjali Maharshi's technique of yoga, Hridaya Chitta Samvitam. By practice of controlling the chitta, that is, removing the vrittis are vibrating, stop the vibration aspect. The consciousness that shines through your chitta, the mind stuff, that consciousness reveals itself. The Hridaya Chitta Samvitam, try to control your chitta by focusing your attention at the heart. Now comes the question of heart. Rama asks, what is that heart, Hridayam? And he gives his own opinion that scriptures use the term heart in three ways. Heart as your physical heart, heart as your mind, and a heart as God within you. Upanishad elaborates this. Heart in Sanskrit called Hridayam. Three letters are there, Hridayam. Unfoldment of your heart. Think of your heart as a lotus. And your spiritual movement is a kind of blossoming of the lotus. If it were to fully blossom, you have realized the heart. Nothing more you need to do. That's the highest attainment. But its blossoming has three stages. The first letter, Hri. As your heart blossoms, just at the first level, which implies your identity is gripped by mala, gross impurities. And at this level, you are trying to remove the impurities. As you go on removing it, Kundalini Shakti starts moving through your navel center. The chakra at the navel blossoms. The knot of the heart is cut down. Not of the heart, rather more correctly it is knot of karma, karma granthi. There are three knots that make you naughty. Knot at the navel center. That's karma, karmic knot. Karma has bonded you. Knot at the heart is called kama. Desire has gripped your mind. That's you are now dealing with vasanas and subtle impressions. And avidya, ignorance. The center for the ignorance is Ajna chakra, between the eyebrows. So when Kundalini moves through the navel center, you have cut down one knot. Your heart has opened up. 1/3 only. Therefore, your dealings with your relatives and friends becomes highly magnanimous. And they all begin to love you and bring you a lot of presents. Wait for the Christmas. In your daily life, you have controlled anger, hate. The malas make you limited. When malas move away, you are lovable. You have no reason not to be lovable. And people love you without any restriction. And therefore, everyone becomes charitable to you. But that's just becoming lovable by people around you and receiving a lot of gifts. That's the ultimate. That's not the ultimate. It's much better, of course. Better than having no heart, or having very little heart, or a crabby heart. So that's first step. Hri. You draw all people around you with profounder, not very profound, but at least very amiable type of relationship. The second type of heart, when the Kundalini has started operating through the Anahata Chakra, your desire mind has started changing in a profound way. Now, you develop a charitable heart. You're not concerned with what people give to me, but what I can give to them. It is that gives you greater fulfillment, not watching all the things you receive as gifts and counting every day in your storehouse, wherever. But what you are giving and what you can go on giving. Charity becomes this second level of your heart's unfoldment is characterized by charity, generosity, magnanimity. The word people use, Mahashaya, big-hearted. And the third type, when Kundalini has opened up the Ajna Chakra, when ignorance has been removed, now you are at the heart. You have moved in three ways, but the third one is the heart, the total, absolute. That means you are immersed in God. You have attained the absolute heaven, the goal of all that exists, and the goal of all goals. So that's the philosophy of Hridayam, the heart. If you forget anything, all the things of the world, you can't forget the heart. Now, in order to discover this heart, realize the heart fully, you need to understand your heart the concept of your heart has two implications. A heart that is conducive to your spiritual evolution, heart that leads you to liberation, and a heart that keeps you bonded with the world of senses. Heart that leads to God, heart that leads to the world. Your heart has two aspected possibility. Shreya and preya. Shreya is that type of fascination that arises in your heart. The heart is fascinated to attain God realization. It follows a righteous track, no matter how difficult it is. And preya, it follows a negative track. This is dramatized in the Mahabharata at the stage where the great battle was going to be fought. Krishna was equally related to the demoniac forces, lower self, to the divine forces, Pandavas, and the higher self. An allegorical story. At that time, a representative from both sides, from the lower self and the higher self. From lower self comes Duryodhana. He comes first. And from the higher self comes Arjuna. He is few minutes later. And it's a dramatization. Krishna, knowing all this, he enacts a drama. He's lying in his bed. He's dozed off. He's in sleep. So Duryodhana comes, and also while he is there, he has put two seats. One seat is at the head side. One seat is at the foot side, knowing what is going to happen. When Duryodhana comes with his great arrogance and ego, he occupies the head side. He sits down there, waiting for Krishna to wake up, looking at his nose when he's itching his nose. Few minutes later, Duryodhana comes. Rather, Arjuna comes. He looks at Duryodhana. They smile with each other. And then he sits at the foot. Duryodhana feels arrogant. Oh, it's inferior position. He was already in a superior position. And just within seconds, Krishna wakes up. And of course, his eyes are directed towards Arjuna. When you wake up, you don't look back, you look forward. So he says, Arjuna. And then Duryodhana probably coughs a little. So he looks like, oh, you are also here. Duryodhana says, I have been here before that one came. So I have every right to ask you for your favor. So give me permission for me to ask you. Because I deserve it, I came first. But Krishna said, but I have seen Arjuna first. And Arjuna is your younger brother. So you have to give him that much out of courtesy. Of course, Duryodhana has no choice. But Duryodhana expresses extreme bitterness. Krishna says, look, I'm going to give to each of you. I will not disappoint. And I'm giving you, on one side, millions of soldiers of tremendous power and energy, and lots of chariots and lots of arms on one side. On the other side, just simple me. Without weapons, nothing. Just as a servant, a chariot driver. That's all. What would you like to have? Now Duryodhana was in shivering and in great stress that Arjuna is going to grip all the big thing that he has given. But Arjuna says to Krishna, "Oh Krishna, I don't want all the big things you are giving. I just want you." Then he says, "Remember, I am not going to fight for you. I will not use any weapon. I will be just without weapon, just alone, and that's it." Arjuna says, "I choose you." Duryodhana felt so relaxed at the stupidity of Arjuna. So, after he has given to Arjuna, Krishna looks back to Duryodhana. "What do you say?" Duryodhana, "What can I say?" He makes it up as if he was disappointed. "I will take the second choice." And he was internally so happy and thrilled. This is a high dramatization of Shreya and preya. Two choices are always there before you. One, to have God with you, nobody else. Befriend God, God's friendliness, God's closeness. The other choice, have all the rajasic glory and power and fame and all that world recognizes as something great. Have all that. Duryodhana type of spirit within you chooses that. That means as long as you have rajasic, tamasic ego and spirituality has not entered deep in your heart, you choose that world. The world of preya. The world seems so good, but it's a world so deceptive that it turns you into a serial killer. Killing whom? Yourself. From embodiment to embodiment. You go on, take an embodiment, you discard it. Come to another embodiment, you discard it. You gain lots of types of experiences. Go high and low. And the world is not the answer. No matter how great you become in the world, that's not the answer. Your soul is thirsty. That was chosen by Duryodhana. That means the lower self. So if mind is gripped by lower self, that is what the world is. For the entire world, for the masses. That's the world. How much money do you have? How many people know you? How many friends do you have? How many places have you visited? And so many things. So, the heart that wastes itself towards Duryodhana type of values, that's called heya, the degrading heart. The heart that follows Arjuna's type of request, that I want Krishna only. I want liberation, not the cycle of birth and death. That heart is called upadeya, is a fruitful heart, purposeful heart, a real heart, a heart that is alive. All the figurative terms. The heart is nothing but the innermost self. The heart is nothing but God Himself. The entire universe is nothing but the heart. And the way to that heart is start from your heart, whatever you think of. You go into the three levels. The heart that wants lots for yourself, the heart that wants to give, and the heart that wants to unfold all. All these three levels, potentialities are there within your heart. The full unfoldment of the heart is I. I am all. I am Brahman, the Absolute. Naturally, if that realization has entered, I am all, your personality will be like the spirit of spring. Just like spirit of spring comes in a forest, the entire forest flourishes. Your personality will be like the spirit of spring that will cause the world to flourish, not for a limited time, for all times. Inspiring personalities, sages, saints, Mahatmas, they continue to inspire all. But during their life, they inspired in a dynamic way. Now, allow your heart to be free of vasanas. Vasanas are subtle desires that exist in your unconscious. To give you simple understanding, the subtlest state of karmas are known as samskaras. Samskaras are like seeds that have gone deep into the earth. Here the earth is your unconscious. Out of those deep-rooted or deep embedded impressions, some of them sprout. The sprouting impressions begin to show their little tender shoots above. And so much so, a kind of a fragrance comes in your conscious mind. You don't know how it is, but your mind, conscious mind, begins to feel it. Therefore, the term vasana means something that is wafting a fragrance. Depending upon the quality of your vasana, the fragrance will be either onion fragrance, garlic fragrance, rose fragrance. And vasana is very pleasing to everyone. This is brought out in a parable given by Sri Ramakrishna, that once 3 fisher women, they spent their day fishing. Now they were returning home. Right at that time, it became stormy, and home was at a distance. And they met a gardener who invited them, said, all the 3 ladies, come, we have a nice quarter, nice house here in the garden. We'll give you all the comfort. Just stay there. In the morning you go home. And they were very happy. They went there. And the gardener, out of courtesy, decorated that room with so many beautiful flowers, with great fragrance. But when these 3 women started sleeping, they started complaining. One said, we can't sleep. It's so nasty smell. So out of the 3, one of them was more clever. She said, put the fish net on your nose, sprinkle a little water, breathe deep. Oh, what a wonderful fish smell. So, all the three found their favorite smell and they shut out the fragrance of the garden and slept most peacefully. You are in divine garden. The entire world is filled with God's fragrance. But every mind, every individual is like one of those fishy women. Puts the web of vasana, the web of your desires, subtle desires, what you have created, and makes that active. Sprinkle it. Now try to smell through the web of vasanas, no matter how fragrant the air may be, as it enters through that web of vasana, it tastes for you, it smells for you according to your desire. And what makes you comfortable is so nasty smell. What makes you uncomfortable is the divine smell. So that's the picture of vasanas and their role. In the same family, same circumstance, father has a different mood, mother has a different mood, sons have different mood, all led by their own vasanas. And look at the world. All souls in different situations. But remove the vasana. The entire world is nothing but permeated by divine glory. Ishwar se labalab bhara hua hai. Full to the brim with divine presence. That's the real experience. If your vasanas, the subtle impressions have become purified, the divine fragrance of your innermost heart begins to express itself. And that's the state of enlightenment. And that's the goal of life, not to stay with the fish. Turning your heart to a purposeful heart, the heart that moves towards Shreya, that requires Abhyasa and vairagya. Abhyasa is repeated effort. Plan out your daily style of life. Turn it into sadhana. When to wake up, when to do your japa, when to do your meditation. Certain things that you must do every day, do them in a rhythmic manner, not abrupt manner. One day going to sleep at 9 o'clock, another day going to sleep at 12 o'clock, third day 1 o'clock, fourth day vigil all over. One day you go for walking for miles and miles, for a whole week, not walking even out of your doors. I'm exaggerating, but the idea is you have to live your life daily, but you can always create a little rhythm in it. Time to get up, time to sleep, time to do your prayer. Create a rhythm and do not omit anything that is essential, whether it deals with your body, deals with your any type of duty that you have to do. All things must be done little by little, but in a rhythmic pattern. That's the style of integral yoga. And if you are doing day by day, that's called Abhyasa. And to understand that your Abhyasa is really effective, you develop vairagya. Mind is not constantly stressed and constantly blaming others for your trouble. You feel relaxed within yourself. There is much interesting dimension within you. You don't have to so much depend upon the world. The feeling a sense of detachment, not out of frustration, but out of inner fullness. That's called vairagya. In the beginning, you may have to cultivate it with little pain. But as vairagya begins to develop, Abhyasa becomes more intensive. Abhyasa and vairagya. Constant practice, day by day, that's Abhyasa. Persistence. Vairagya becoming inwardly untouched. These two methods, well adopted day by day, that doesn't in any way inconvenience you. No matter whatever you have been doing, you will be doing that with greater freedom, greater joy, and with greater dexterity. So nothing is being taken away from you. Spiritual sadhana is not in any way, it doesn't in any way impact you in a negative way. Rather, it enriches you. So if you are doing your sadhana day by day, you have more energy, more enthusiasm, more perseverance, and you have, of course, God within you, there is no limit of His grace. You are led to Brahmapad, the state of Brahman, implying the ultimate reality. Brahman alone is. Your heart has become full, Purnamada. And that's your goal. The divine bliss, the innermost joy, the revelation of Brahman is like nectar, the source of all rasa, all savory taste, the absolute joy. It is that rasa that drips into your unconscious, and samskaras change the taste of the rasa. Rasa becomes mixed up. Now the same rasa comes into another level in your vasanas and becomes further mixed up, adulterated. The same rasa comes to more practical level of your personality, and it becomes malas, gross impurities. It is completely spoiled. It's more poisonous. The experience of taste, see, taste, what you enjoy. Your enjoyment brings, you are trying to use an innermost taste that is coming from Brahman, from your depth of your heart. But that taste becomes adulterated. It adulterated by your unconscious impressions. Just like think of purest stream of water is coming from the mountain. But it goes through layers of the earth, sediments, layers. And through those layers, and those layers are not pure. So the water that flows has now become already adulterated, spoiled. But now comes another layers, worse than the previous one. But to person who is not enlightened, that's the taste he wants, just like those fisherwomen. Threefold taste, taste coming from the deepest, that's causal plane, through the samskaras, vasanas. Taste that is coming through your emotions and feelings. Taste that is coming through your senses in a very practical world. All the tastes have proceeded from Brahman. God is the only taste. By attaining enlightenment, you have removed all these sediments and layers that adulterate the taste. Taste is now absolutely pure, because they call it rasam, nectar. That's what the heart is. The heart is just absolute love, absolute joy. Try to figure out the heart. Om Shanti Shanti.